Everybody, we're in for a treat. I've been looking forward to this all week as we record on the day before Halloween on this Friday. I have one of my great friends from college, my former radio partner, the Bro Circle and Matt and Alex show, um, and just a fellow great man that I'm so happy to have here. Alex Young, thank you for coming to the Productive Conversation podcast. How are we doing, bud?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me. I mean, like you said, Bro Circle, Matt and Alex show. We've been doing this, talking for what now? Start of freshman year and been friends ever
7 years,
since. And yeah,
exactly,
it's been like
man.
7 years, so it's been crazy that this is technically really have come full circle. So I'm super happy to be here on this podcast and be able to talk to you once again. It's been a while.
Definitely, man. Yeah, you were my first friend in college, and like the fourth person I ever met there. And look here, so we're pretty fortunate. And it's funny, you look the exact same, just different. Just depending what you
Yeah,
do with your hair at that time of
yeah,
year.
exactly. Thank you, man.
Everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm shocked that through all my stressful jobs and stuff, I haven't aged at all. Like a lot of people. I can't complain at all.
That's funny. Oh boy, look at that. So Alex, you are in New Jersey, right? You
Yep.
mentioned that out in
Yeah.
Parsippany. That's still Bergen
Yep.
County, right?
Yeah. It's just Morris County, but yeah, it's
Morris
just
County.
around. I'm still just a little bit around. Everywhere. It doesn't really matter. Whatever county everyone knows, it's just New Jersey. New Jersey's the
Right?
same everywhere. Except for like down the shore and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
it's like 30 minutes from where I grew up in Bergen County. So everything to me is Bergen. It's just all New Jersey. It doesn't really matter.
You know me as the outsider for Connecticut. I just assume anything in the New York, like the Jersey part that's near New York, I just assume that's Bergen County or whatever.
That's pretty much. You can't really complain. Whatever county you want to call it, doesn't really matter. It's
What?
all New Jersey
Yeah,
at the end of the day. It's all great.
that's what I always like about people in New Jersey. They really have a lot of pride for this state. It's cool. My dad works in Paramus, and he's still 45-minute commute even from our home in Norwalk in Fairfield County, Connecticut. And it's just really it's I think people don't realize how close my area is close to your state. And you know, when I could go to Giant games when I can. And I heard this thing today. I was listening to Joey Diaz on the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast, right?
Great podcast, by the way. That's a good podcast.
For sure. And he was telling me that he used to ride bikes in the Meadowlands before they created the whole sports complex pre-Giant Stadium. And I was wondering, what was that like? Obviously it was Giant Stadium, now MetLife, and upsets everybody. Now they have the horse track and
It's
the new
always
mall.
giant. It's always Giant Stadium to me.
Right.
Whatever you call it.
I just wonder what it must have been like in that huge Meadowlands, except where they're probably, burying bodies. But besides that,
That's true.
but yeah. So what have you been up to recently, Alex?
So I've been working at the NBA. You've talked about that for a little
Yep.
bit. So I just finished my first season. It's a long
Congratulations.
season. Thank you. Which is crazy if you think about it. I started in August, like September, right? So
Hmm.
right before the week one of the NFL season, and I have worked a full calendar year. Not a lot of people realize that. A lot of NBA employees and the players worked a
Hmm.
full calendar year. So if you look at it in terms of NFL, I started around week one of the NFL season, and I just finished up week one of the next NFL season. So it's been a very hectic year, a lot of stuff going on. Everyone knows the story, what happened,
Hmm.
Rudy Gobert and all that.
Yep.
A lot of uncertainty for the year, Kobe's tragic passing. So
Hmm.
a lot of crazy stuff. But it was a great year. I learned a lot. I'm happy that we have a little bit of downtown now. But it just was an unbelievable year. A lot of great stuff, and I was really happy that I made the move. I worked at MLB for a year,
Yep. Yep.
and then I made the NBA. And I've been really happy with the decision I made to make that move. Albeit, everyone knows it's been a absolutely chaotic year for a lot of people, and
For sure.
the NBA definitely went through that. So yeah.
I could imagine this really was a defining year for the NBA, as you mentioned. First, but don't forget, like, I'm sure you definitely know the China mess that happened about a year ago, where we have Daryl Morey say some not so kind things. Then, as you mentioned, we lost an icon for the NBA. sadly, with Kobe's death. And then pandemic hits, have to go to Florida, and I could imagine like it must have been something else to see the finals finally end successfully and everything. Yo, if you don't mind me asking, Alex, not to get on a somber note to start, but with the passing of Kobe, do you remember where you were amongst that in the NBA? What was your
Yeah.
story behind it?
So crazy enough, I was actually heading to Sea Caucus, my office. I was
Mm-hmm.
driving to work, and I got a message in one of my group chats saying that Kobe died, and all of us were like, no way, you're joking. This is like, it was like
Mm-hmm.
the TMZ article, so everyone's like, oh, this is a hoax, but TMZ,
Yep.
TMZ is reliable for the most part, but everyone, this is a hoax. They can't believe it, can't believe it. So I'm on my way to work, not thinking it's not a big deal. Pull in right outside my office, and I hear the radio report come in.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. I was listening to Sirius XM, listening to one of the sports channels there, and I hear the report, and it hit me, tremendously hard. I tried to stay composed, and I walk into the office, go up, and all the TVs, every single TV in that room had the news on about Kobe. And if I could tell you, you can hear a pin drop in that room. It was unbelievable. And just to see some of my closest coworkers crying,
Mm-hmm.
tearing up, including myself. I told my girlfriend after, she's not really big sports, but she knew how much Kobe meant to me.
Of course.
And to a lot of people. I tried to stay composed that whole shift. We had to work. There was games
Mm-hmm.
that day. We didn't know if they're going to be postponed, but we worked those games of everything going on. And I tried to stay composed that whole day, and it didn't really hit me until I got into my car after my shift that all that happened. And actually, broke down on my way home, and it's such an
Yeah.
emotional time, because if you think about it, like I think a few weeks before that, David Stern had
Yes,
his
that
passing
too.
away. So people were getting over that. To me, he's the greatest commissioner
Easily.
in the NBA history, possibly in all sports. So that I was upset that day. But I think the Kobe thing hit me really, really hard, and it hit a lot of people hard. And so yeah, I'll always remember that moment. It would just so happen I was going to work that day. It was
In
like
the
a
NBA
Sunday. I think it
too.
was a Sunday. Yeah, at the NBA,
Yeah.
and just that whole day, it was tough. Because the games that went on, all the tributes, all the really cool, them taking the intentional shot clock violations and the 8 seconds and all that stuff, and all the amazing things, and
Mm-hmm.
um, and doing that and being a part of that, logging those games. I think I had an important game that day, and just hearing all these announcer stories and all that stuff. It's a day I won't forget. To be a part of that, there was a lot of historical moments I was a part of just this year alone. Like I said, it's
Yeah.
probably the craziest year I've ever worked. But just being part of those moments, albeit as sad as it was, is something, like I said, I don't think I'll ever forget for sure.
Yeah, like the first with David Stern, I totally agree what he did for the NBA. When he went in the early '80s, very bad coke problem, not as many stars. You'd have NBA Finals when it was like the Blazers winning and the Warriors back then, and the Sonics, and nobody would show up, dude. And his landmark deals going to cable TV, bring playoffs games there, and of just making the NBA what it is. And it's rare to see an Adam Silver fit almost perfectly, because
Yeah,
he's definitely the strongest commissioner of all them. Literally all of
for
them
sure. Yeah, and
folks.
one of the crazy things too that people forget, that Adam Silver had to deal with the first few months as commissioner was the Donald Sterling
Mm-hmm.
incident that everyone knows about. For a new commissioner to go through that and all that drama and all that stuff that was going on, the job that he did was unbelievable, and it just showed the level of commissioner he was going to be in. And these last few years
Yep,
of him as commissioner, he, like you said, filled in the role of David Stern and has been probably the strongest commissioner in my opinion in all of sports. And that's not me just being
absolutely.
biased because I work at the NBA.
He's
Um,
your boss
yeah,
technically.
he's my boss. But no, that's just me in general. And me and you have talked about that, throughout our years of college, just, how strong the NBA has been. And a lot of people didn't know if Adam Silver could fill David Stern's shoes, but he's shown time and time again that he is a tremendous leader for that organization.
For sure. like, yeah, where do we go? MLB from cheating to not getting losing popularity every year. NFL with the handling their PR issues and
Mm,
handling CTE
mm,
and players acting a fool.
yeah.
The NHL is nothing against the NHL, but it's
No.
just so regional and it's hard to have that presence. I mean, pretty much like him and Dana White are pretty much the only ones who like earn their respect, you
Yeah.
know.
And the NHL's growing, and you're seeing that, and that's a good thing to see.
Mm-hmm.
They've been posting strong numbers, and their salary caps have gone up higher.
Yep.
So it's good to see that. It's a good sport. I haven't been getting into it. I've never really been into hockey, but I've been trying to get into hockey. I think it's a really interesting sport to look at.
Oh yeah,
But yeah,
especially for our teams as well. Like I'm a Rangers fan. They're rebuilding. They got the very first
yeah,
pick, and the Islanders were just a round away from the Stanley Cup. And I haven't really been following the Devils, but I mean, they're your state, so I
yeah.
assume they're
I'm a Rangers fans, but for the Devils, they have a like I said, good young core. They had first overall pick a few years ago and
Yep.
or last season. So they're rebuilding. But they have promise. They have promising things, and the Rangers as well. Like I think having the first overall pick come to New York is going to be bring a lot of eyes.
For sure.
Even though the Rangers are like are up and down. Like I said, I'm not really into hockey. So I'm not the strongest of Rangers fans, but
Mhm.
just to see what I see in terms of their roster, they have a lot of promise for a team that technically is rebuilding, but again, they have a lot of
Yeah,
good players in place.
we
And
all
obviously
start
the
somewhere
football.
too. So
Yeah, exactly.
with Parnier's looking good and Savetskin looks like he's gonna take over. He's officially got the goalie role over Henrik Lundqvist. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. And they get away with and they save Dolan's ass in one way or the other because
That's true.
I want to go definitely more with our Knicks. But
Mm,
just the last thing drifted off with Kobe though,
yeah,
like Kobe's on the Mount Rushmore of NBA greats for sure.
absolutely. Yeah.
And my quick story, my experience, it was a Sunday. I remember it was the Pro Bowl. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
weekend between the championship, the weekend between the championships, the conference championships, and the Super Bowl. And yeah, I just had my youngest brother screaming, and it hit him a ton of bricks, and definitely got emotional ourselves, and we'll never forget what he did. And also, rest in peace to the other 7 people who passed away too, and his daughter Gianna. I can't forget them. So hopefully, it just leads to new things changing. With I'm not a helicopter expert, but I hope that things change with how that's
Safety.
operated,
Yeah.
and yep, safety. And we'll never forget Kobe. So
Yeah. Absolutely not. No. Rest in peace, Kobe.
for
By the way.
sure. And you wanted on a happy note. What's your favorite Kobe memory? Seeing you witness he done,
Oh man, there's so many.
or one of a few. It doesn't be the favorite, but like what's one that sticks out, or it could be a few.
I think my favorite, and I think it's because it's the shot. Like my only tweet I had on Kobe was someone did a montage of all his buzzer beaters,
Mm,
and just the fact that I still play basketball this day. Tried as a kid and growing up to mimic all those buzzer beater moments.
mhm.
I think my favorite one probably was against the Phoenix Suns. I believe was it in the Western Conference Finals? I
Like
can't.
against Amari and Snash and
Yeah,
Snash,
I can't
Snash,
remember, but
Nash. Yes, yes.
but but that was one of my key memories growing up is just seeing that because it was like, oh, the Suns will get away with this one, and then all of a sudden, Kobe dribbles right side of the free throw line, pulls up, hits it, ices the game, and that was a crazy moment. And then obviously him, winning the title against the Celtics. I watched that whole
Yeah.
series. That was such a fun series to watch. And then, just seeing that all the celebration on that moment and all those iconic, moments from him winning that championship.
Mhm.
Probably one of the most memorable finals we'll see, just because it was the whole bringing back, the Lakers Celtics
Yep.
rivalry and we didn't see that as kids, but then we got to see this rivalry, reborn
Right.
back in the finals, and it was so awesome. And just to see Kobe, get another title and all that was something I'll never forget. But yeah, there's so many memories, all the buzzer beaters, all the clutch shots, all the
Mhm.
fadeaways. It's so hard to just pick, one, memorable moment. But I think to me, if I had to probably pick one, would probably be that whole series against the finals, all those moments, and then him, winning it all and all the celebrations following that.
I totally agree with you on that. Yeah, those were really stuck out when he beat Dwight, and the Magic was another one
Yeah,
in that
that was
second
another
half
one.
too.
Yeah.
Also I remember his 81-point game. I actually happened to stay up that day and watch it when we had the Fox Sports Network. Or that they no pre-Fox. No, remember there was FS1, like it goes
Yeah.
MSG, then FS1 or two. I did sadly know also a cable cutter. I don't even know if they exist anymore. But I remember specifically watching that and talking about it at school. This was in the 4th grade that happened, I believe. So now a long time ago. So that's probably my favorite, seeing 81, and then beating the Magic and Celtics for just seeing him prove that he can win without Shaq
Yeah.
and he did it not just once but twice. Shaq only won once without Kobe. So major props with that. And last thing on what's cool thing with Commissioner Silver, and then what's cool is the rise in the WNBA that's helped facilitate. We do have a long ways to go, but I do think slowly more people are taking it WNBA a little more seriously. Like for instance, Sabrina, I can't pronounce her last name.
UNESCO?
Yeah, her rise being Kobe's mentor. Now she's on the Liberty. Even though I know they had a very bad season, but you all start somewhere. I think that's really cool to see and witness, and that's one of the few things for Connecticut's pride is the Connecticut son. So so I think that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, no, it's definitely for sure. Yeah, it's definitely a sport that's growing. I had the opportunity to log a few WNBA games this year, and I had a ton of fun watching it. It's a very high. A lot of people don't realize it, but it's very fast paced. It's very competitive, and there's a lot of young up and coming stars. Sabrina Ionescu, Arike Kubawale.
Yep.
There's a lot of really really young talented players in that league, and I'm happy. Stern started it, and then Silver's really promoting it, and I'm happy to see that it's being promoted by NBA players and other players around different sports. It definitely deserves its praise, and I'm happy to see that league growing. I think it definitely is very fun to watch, and people have been criticizing it for years, but once you sit down and watch a WNBA game, it changes your whole perception on that league. So if people out there are like, oh, it's WNBA, go sit down, watch a game, start maybe watch like a Seattle Storm game, Sue Bird, all of them, they just won a title, Brianna Stewart, all of them.
Yep.
Watch stuff like that. It's so fun to watch. It's very, very high paced, such high IQ plays out there. It's a great league, and I'm happy to see that, it's finally, kind of growing, and I hope it continues its success down the line for sure.
And it's going to be huge when we have Becky Hammond, assistant coach on the Spurs. And a lot of people think once Pop leaves that she's going to be the one to step in. And she's proven herself, rising in the ranks. Looks like it'll be him or Tim Duncan. And why not?
Yeah. No, definitely. I think
so
she deserves it. She's been working at it for years, and I think she's a tremendous coach. And, in the bubble, there was moments, I think she actually coached for a lot of the games in the bubble. Like,
I think so too.
Popovich gave her the reins to kind of, let her take control. And I think that was so awesome to see. And I think she, deserves an opportunity. I think she's a tremendous person. I think she's a tremendous coach, and I hope that she gets an opportunity down the line.
I absolutely agree with you. It looks like that there's a great chance for it, and I just hope to see it. I really hope to see it, and we could start making these changes. One of the big things is, these women are just as good as the men in making a presence for basketball. It's just basketball at the end of the day. The only difference is the ball is smaller in the WNBA. So
there's no huge deal about that. Yeah,
exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm excited to see, and why not hear other perspectives, right? Win's a win. So either way, however you get it.
Yeah.
All right. And just another basketball point. I can't not have a talk with you and not talk about our Knicks.
Yeah.
New York Knickerbockers. Boy.
Yeah.
Where do we start? How about we get the 8th pick?
Yeah.
And I'm not – this is the one draft class I'm not as familiar with. I usually catch up in March Madness, but it's one thing I will say, I'm not, when we look back in history and we see, first round picks, where they come from. And, there's been plenty of examples of high first round picks who don't do a thing, right? They don't do a thing. They just, you know, sadly, if you're just a Greg Oden, I know he had more injuries and
Yeah, it
had
was
some
more
weird
interesting.
issues. Maybe that's not the best example, but if we talk like, I don't know,
You can look at Anthony Bennett. You can look at
yeah,
even Michael Kidd Gilchrist.
mm-hmm.
He was the number 2 overall pick. You can just look kind of, down the line of historically, players, that did probably, if you even look back on like Jordan's draft, like Sam Bowie gets taken over Jordan. It's the same thing as Greg Oden. You couldn't oversee him getting, injured as much as he did. But it's just a historically, there's teams out there that have historically not drafted well or particularly well, and I think this year is going to be a little tough. Obviously, with everything going on, you're not going to be able to scout as well. And like you said, a lot of people, including myself, like I kind of sit and scout or look at top players during March Madness,
Yep.
and we didn't get March Madness this year.
Oh,
Obviously, with everything going on, so it's going to be an interesting draft for sure. And then of course, we're hoping as Knicks fans to get a top 5 pick, and we fall to 8. So it is what it is at this point, being a
right.
Knicks fan.
You know, Kawhi was the 17th overall pick. Giannis was 15th. It's not all. Let me look up real quick, if you don't mind me looking up. 8th NBA
Yeah,
round
go for it.
picks. NBA draft best eighth overall picks. And
I mean, Curry fell to 9, right? During his
Steph or
no,
Curry. I remember Knicks were just a
no, he
pick.
got
I remember Knicks were the very pick away.
yeah, he was 8 or 9. I can't remember. I don't know why. I usually have it in my
Seventh,
head. He was
according to
7th. Okay.
seventh. So just as close. But
Yeah.
some great overall picks: Rudy Gay, Ron Harper, Larry Hughes, Uhart's Vinton Baker. This is the ones.
Uhart,
I mean,
Vin Baker.
these are good players, but I'm just looking for real standouts. Yeah. Okay, maybe this isn't that good. I don't know, but who knows? Maybe we'll just have the first really good one. Let's just go with that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we can go off the promise of that.
We'll have the first star-studded 8th round pick. And what was crazy too? Speaking of Hartford and March Madness, we were just a game away from possibly getting in.
I was so sad. Once I saw that report, because everything was shutting down. All the major conferences were closing at that time, and I was like, oh, come on, let's just squeeze out the America East. Let's just give ourselves a chance to make it.
Yeah.
Even though if they shut it down, just play the game. I think they were a few days away from playing the game. And this is just me being a dumb fan. And at the time, not knowing the disparity of everything at that moment. We're 1 game away. Come on, we could probably squeeze this game out, because they were still playing a few games. So I'm like, okay, maybe they'll just finish this week out, and then that's it. And then all of a sudden it's everything's shutting down, and we're they're on ESPN the next day or a few days later.
Right,
and
finally.
We're oh man, Gallagher's interviewing and sitting there and on set, and we're like damn, we could have easily. Maybe not saying we could, but we had a chance to be finally, in March Madness, because usually, you have the Albany's, you have Vermont,
you
have
USNBC, who actually beat the first
who beat Virginia. They're the upset stories. A lot of people don't realize that that's our conference. So if you didn't know, Hartford was in the same conference of UMBC, which upset Virginia a few years ago.
16th over 1.
Yeah, so. It was I was just sitting there. I was so sad. I'm we're oh, finally we have a potential chance here. And then, of course, everything gets taken away. And it just showed the sadness of everything happening in sports. Seniors in high school not being able to finish out their final season. Seniors in college not being able to get their moments and get their senior days and finish their careers. If they're not moving on to the pros, I know your brother, it's the same thing. He's had a chaotic year with him being, senior in terms of recruiting and playing and all this stuff and everything going on. You just look at the scope of everything in that moment. And I just remember, I'm I just feel bad for everyone, but including the seniors that, they could have fought and had a chance to make it to even the one March Madness game finally. And, the opportunity didn't happen.
And just having that conference championship. Just if
Yeah,
that would have just been
it would be awesome.
the
Yeah.
biggest thing. I don't think that's ever happened, or I don't know how
It's
close
it,
they ever
I,
got.
I think I don't know if it's happened or it has, but it's been a really really
Easily.
long time, if I remember correctly, that they last time, because like they never won when we were there, so that was 4 years. So
No.
they've come close, but but it's just a shame that they didn't get that opportunity, because I don't know if they ever won, or it would have been like the first time. It would have been like the Dodgers thing. It would have been like the first time in like 30 plus years won
Right?
the American East Conference or stuff like that. So
Or
yeah,
just having or it would just be like that moment where maybe they won when they were in a different conference. I don't know the one they were
yeah,
in before American East, but man. But back to the Knicks. We got a new coach, Tom Thibodeau, who has gotten credit with development of players and have found success with the T-Wolves and the Bulls. But could he be the one with the Knicks, with the R.J. Barretts and the Mitch Robinsons, and if Julius Randle wants to be good again, or we see Dennis Smith Jr. maybe getting the
merge finally.
potential that
Or
they
Frank
say.
Ntilikina, we've been waiting on his emergence for years. Maybe he
Dude,
finally gets the minutes that he deserves on the court.
and
That we
not
haven't
pick
seen.
fights with LeBron and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, we saw him in like Europe. Like I can't remember what tournament it was. I don't know. I can't remember what
The
tournament,
FIBA
or
tournament?
maybe it was FIBA. I can't remember what it was recently, but we saw him like do extremely well there, or perform well, and we're like, then he comes back and he doesn't get like minutes. So I know like Tom Thibodeau has developed well. Like you said, you can look at his track record. He's had a lot of very good players under his wing. You look at Derrick Rose. Look at those good Bulls teams. You have the Derrick Rose. You have Joakim Noah. You have even Lou Dang. Boozer played very well under him too, even though he was a veteran. And then you got now the talk of the NBA recently, Jimmy Butler, who learned from him. And
Yep.
I think if you look at that, he took what like Thibodeau taught him to other places, and it finally worked in Miami. But
Right.
he brings a very, very strong work ethic, and I think that's what Thibodeau brings to the floor, is that he's a coach that makes everyone play extremely hard, and that's a good thing, I think, for a very young team that we have, and it's only going to get younger with, like we said, the 8th overall pick, unless they trade up or trade down or whatever the case might be.
We do have another first rounder too from
Yeah,
the Clippers,
yeah,
27th in the Morris deal. So who
so
knows with
yeah,
that as well?
yeah. So like we said, we're only going to get younger, I think. I know that there was that report that came out that like they're willing to take on bad contracts if they get assets. So I wonder what's going to go there.
Chris Paul coming?
Yeah, I have no
Like
idea.
that?
So yeah, I don't know. That's been rumored for like months. I don't know if it's going to happen. But we'll see. I think he was the right guy to bring in. I know Coach Miller, who's the interim head coach for the Knicks. When I interned with the Westchester Knicks and the production company there, he's a great guy. He's very nice. Like, always said hi to production crew every time he walked into the arena. He's very nice guy to talk to and be along with. So I hope he gets a shot down the line. I think he's a good head coach. I don't know if he's going to be on. I don't know if they said he's going to be on Thibodeau's staff. I don't know.
According to this, he's not listed on the staff. We have Mike Woodson coming back.
Yep,
Kenny
which
Payne.
I'm happy about. I always loved Mike Woodson. I think he kind of got hosed out of New York.
Oh, bro, we haven't been good since. We have not been nowhere close since that day. And the good old days. I really I should appreciate those more. We're far from it. And but yeah, Joni Bryant's going to be assistant head coach, Andy Greer as well. So why not? If we could just get it AC, because every single Knicks fan in my life has run away from them, except really you. Even Spike Lee's having his doubts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm just a diehard fan of all these teams. You know me, like. The teams are, I root for like the losers of New York, if you want to classify it that way.
I'm a Mets fan.
Mets, Knicks, and the Rangers have been good. But like I said, I'm not the hockey, so I'm not a diehard fan there. But I'm a diehard fan of the Knicks, the Mets, and the Giants. And tell me what they've done over the last 5 years, other than the Mets being in the World Series in 2015. they have always disappointed the last, couple seasons. And, we know the sad state of the Giants right now and the sad state of the Knicks. But I think this hopefully turns the corner around for the Knicks. Like I said, I like Tom Thibodeau. I like bringing Woodson back. He's always a defensive guy. I think we need that on this team. We have a lot of good defensive players. Like I said, Frank Ntilikina is very good defensively. And I think that if they establish an offense that is fast paced, because like I said, they're young, and moves the ball around, I think would be good. I know a lot of people will want to give up on Julius Randle a year in to his contract. I like
a
his
big
contract
signing.
He was a big signing a few seasons ago. I like him. I think he's a very good player. I just was saying, to a couple people that it's just that he's not an ISO player. He's a very, very good, like, second tier, like, off the ball kind of guy. Like, last year we were just trying to make him this ISO, like, scorer, and that's not who he is. Like, if you look back on the Pelicans, like, he was great because he was right next to Anthony Davis and playing secondhand Anthony Davis. And we all know how good of a player Anthony Davis is and how good of a passer he is and the team around him. Like, if you just make him pick and roll, all that stuff, get him the ball down, whatever, instead of making him like this ISO scorer, I think everything can be beneficial. It's just that last season there was too much emphasis on him just being our primary scorer, and I don't think that's going to work. Just the way he plays. I think he's a very good, pick and roll player, pick a pop player, can get to the basket, But I think if we just develop some more kind of free-flowing offense and move the ball around, I think it'd be a little bit more beneficial for his sake and everyone else's sake. We saw what happens when Mitchell Robinson is coming off a pick. He throws down dunks. He's great.
Oh yeah.
And if RJ Barrett continues to develop his jump shot, I think we'll be fine. It's just that we don't know what's going to happen. This is going to be a crazy offseason.
And a short one too. Yeah,
definitely a shorter one. So it's going to be real interesting to see how this is all going to work out.
So at the moment, the NBA is they're looking at the week of Christmas.
Yeah. I think it's December. I think there's December 22nd.
Yeah.
And I think the players want more of Martin Luther King Day, which is January 18th, I believe.
Okay.
So I think that we haven't heard it from me. Like, like I said, I don't really get like official word of work and stuff, but I think it's going to be December or January. I'm more of having it on Martin Luther King Day, I'm big for, social justice and all that with my background. So I think it'd be really cool to focus like NBA tip-off around social justice on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I think that'd be really cool. So we'll see what happens. But again, it's it's October 30th, and you might have an off season that's two months. 2-3 months. So that's without like training camp and whatever the case might be. So it could be even shorter than what we think of. Your free agent window could be shorter. All this stuff with trades could be shorter. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens this offseason, because like you said, it's going to be like 2 months off season, tip off. So it's, at best 2 months. So
I don't disagree with you. I think Martin Luther King would be a great sense of symbolism. We'll see what happens to the election results and how that can probably be a celebrated part as well. And I know the NBA really, it's tough with this pandemic, but I think it's fair to say, even though, don't take the risk if you don't have to, but the NBA needs fans for the simple sense of revenue. I think they can lose. I read a report that the NBA can lose as much as 40% of their revenue if they can't let fans in again. So they definitely need to be safe. Most of all, safety number one. But you just use that extra time to hopefully things can improve. We'll see how where we're at amongst the pandemic and what phases we're in, but I think it'd be beneficial too for the fans' sake, and they could get the money that they need to make up.
Yeah, I think that's for sure. I think the key thing was just looking back on this year, just the overall success of the bubble is something not to look away from. There's reports that, they saved $1.5 billion based off TV contracts and sponsorships, which is awesome. But I think just the success of the bubble in terms of out of the whole time they were there, which is like 70 plus days, they had no positive tests, was awesome and all that stuff. So, I don't think we're going to have a bubble 2.0, but as cool as I think that was, like you said, I think if they can find a way safely to have fans, that'll be great. But I don't think, like we said, it depends on the risk. You know, the reason why, if you look at it, I was talking to my girlfriend about this. If you look at it, the reason why, the NFL and MLB had some fans is because it was more open arenas.
Yep.
Whereas the NBA is more closed, or all of them are closed, I should say. So there's just a risk in terms of, ventilation and all that stuff, and how many people can you have safely inside an indoor arena at this point. So I think I don't know if right away they're going to have fans. I know the thing that stinks, like you said, the loss of revenue, impacts everyone, including me.
You need your paycheck.
So we'll see. I think, like we said, we kind of just have to take, like everything with the pandemic, take it day by day and figure out a way. If it's safely, you can have, a couple thousand fans in the arena. That'd be great. But if it's not worth the risk, there's no reason to do it. If like I said, the cool thing about the bubble, a lot of people don't realize is that the reason why they were able to save a good amount of money was because the local markets were able to do their broadcasts.
Yeah, that's the key. The TV contract
from the bubble. So, the Bucks were doing, like this really cool, like they were in Pfizer Forum, but the game was happening in the bubble, and you had that contract. Brooklyn Nets, all the teams are, that were in the bubble were able to still do their local contracts. It wasn't like, okay, ESPN NBA marathon from 8 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night when you're going to have games back to back. It was like, okay, the Thunder can still have their games, the Bucks can still have the games, the Spurs can still have the games. So, I think the revenue will be there from that still, which is great. But like you said, if it'd be great to have fans because it brings back a little bit of normalcy and obviously helps out with what to do in the arenas during game breaks. But if it's too risky right now, it's not worth it. If it's something down the line, like come playoffs maybe, and everything's looking better, and there's ways you can have rapid testing and all that stuff, then I think that'd be kind of a cool option to have, just to have fans for like the postseason. But I guess it's like we said with the pandemic, it's just more as a wait and see approach right now for sure.
Fingers crossed with that. Fingers crossed. Now, I definitely want to talk with your other your two teams. Let's go with the more negative one, and then we'll go with the more promising. So with that, probably still talk about the New York Giants. It's affecting the both of us. I've talked to people who have, really don't think that things need to be changed, and some say be patient, be optimistic. Where are you at with the state of the New York Giants football right now as they're about to go play the Bucks on Monday night?
Yeah, I'm more like a little bit optimistic looking at everything. It's just that there's some things that have to be changed, and I think the key thing is Gettleman. You know how my feelings are towards him. I'm not going to say anything bad about him, but I think that at this point, if you look at the roster and look how the state of football is, you want probably a younger football mind in control. Now the problem is now is that if the Giants are going to look in house or they're going to look out, and there's a lot of pieces on this team that I'm optimistic about that we've seen. I think James Bradbury has been a great signing. I think Blake Martinez has been a great signing.
Logan Ryan has been a great signing.
Logan Ryan's been very solid. On the defensive side of the ball, our defenses look good. I don't think they'll, over the last, probably 5 seasons now, people have been talking about our defense, but now this year we're, like we said, if you take out the 49ers game, we're like a top 15 defense. They're playing very, very hard with Joe Judge, and they're playing very hard on the ground, which is great to see. There's great young pieces, but there's improvements there. I think, obviously, we've probably talked about this on the radio show for God knows how long during college, but the state of the linebackers, we haven't had a dominant linebacker for, I feel like, 15 years now. And our offensive line.
What's it been since Antonio Pierce? Has it been that long?
Yeah, I think Antonio Pierce. Even if you put like Chase Blackburn of people, I mean, he made some key plays in the Super Bowl, but like he was like our last decent linebacker. So it's been a long time. But and then you look at offense again. Just time and time again, the offensive line is just letting us down. And that's been supposed to be fixed for the last 3 years now under Gettleman. Nothing has changed, and
no matter who they put in.
No matter who they put in. And it's been bad. And then I think, me and you have talked about Daniel Jones. I'm a believer. I still am a believer in Daniel Jones. I think he has all the tools to be successful in this league. The problem is, like we go back to, is the offensive line again. And I understand people are like, turnovers. Yes, the turnovers have to cut down, but they have cut down this year. But like, if you look, and when he has time in the pocket, he's making great plays. He had a 90-yard run. Yes, he fell flat on his face, but or an 80-yard run. But he's showing his elements, and when he has time, he makes the plays. He's looking at his progression rates have been a lot better and all that stuff. But then you look, Evan Ingram again, like
that was Evan Ingram's fault, not Daniel Jones.
Like the pick last game, I know he can't. Daniel Jones threw that hot, but again, Evan Ingram should bat that thing down, not try to alligator arm it and it pops straight up in the air. And then again, Daniel Jones put that ball right on the money on 3rd and 7, pretty much iced the game, and Ingram dropped. And
they cringe, bro.
It bothers me that we've heard for like all the time that Evan Ingram's here is just the promise and the potential. And every time like there's a key moment that he's involved in, he doesn't come up with the moment. And that's the thing. It's like, how can Daniel Jones be confident throwing the ball to a guy who's supposedly, one of our best weapons, and he can't come up with it?
For years talking about how good.
For years. Yeah. And it's just been a mess. And then, Daniel and I talked to my dad about this. My dad's been a season ticket holder now for the Giants for like 50 plus seasons. It's since his family had it. We've had it for years.
Is it this is Yankee Stadium Polo Ground?
Yeah, it's been since the Polo Ground there. So my dad's a diehard Giants fan, and it's like I'm trying to tell him, it's like with Daniel is that it's kind of hard when you call hike and you already have 3 people surrounding your face. Just like look back on the Steelers game with Saquon, right? Like Daniel called hike and handed the ball to Saquon, and there was 4 members of the Steelers like already in his face. How are you going to have a successful
TJ
offense?
Watt's jumping on him, and
Bud Dupree was playing out of his mind that game. Like, how are you going to be successful if you have 2 seconds to make a read and throw the ball? Like, it's just
no one can be.
It goes
no Montana.
Yeah, and everyone's trying to give up on Daniel already, and I understand. Trevor Lawrence looks like an unbelievable pick. Don't get me wrong. He is probably a far and far away better prospect than Daniel Jones. But if we somehow manage to get the first pick, which I don't think we do, I think the Jets are going to run away with the first.
That's all
pick.
Jets. They can take it.
Yeah.
Or the Falcons will beat us to it.
Yeah, but what Giants fans aren't realizing is that even if we draft Trevor Lawrence and we trade Daniel, we're going to still be in the same position we are in right now. It's going to be – Trevor's going to have the same issues because he has a good offensive line in Clemson. He comes here, he's going to have the same thing. He's going to have 3-4 seconds to make a read, and he's going to struggle. It's like nothing's going to do – we're not going to do well offensively until we have the offensive lines that we used to have when we won 2 Super Bowls. When we had David Deal, when we had Sean O'Hara. When we had the big guys, these key guys on the offensive line. And we haven't had that since they've retired. Like, everything's fallen apart. And like I said, the thing that frustrates me the most is that, we're almost 10 years removed from a Super Bowl, and we go from a Super Bowl caliber team to one of the worst teams in football in just 10 years. And it just shows that the franchise has fallen apart. And it's sad. it's frustrating, especially these last 4 seasons, because time and time again, we draft these guys that have such promise. Like, I wasn't a believer in Daniel Jones, but that rookie year, he made me a believer. I said he has all the tools to make things work, and he still does. And Saquon as well. And, time and time again, it's like the team just doesn't build around it. It's the same thing. You look literally across the hallway with the Jets. It's like Sam Darnold came in and he showed all this promise, but you don't build a team around them. And that's why both teams are struggling, is that they are not building around their key guys that you're building around. Like, we're going to bring in hog mollies. But who can you name on the offensive line that's been solid? World Hernandez, who now unfortunately has COVID, and I wish he gets well soon.
Absolutely.
But he's been very solid, but now he's regressed. He hasn't done well.
He started getting penalties now. That was one thing he never would get penalties. He got a couple against Philly.
And then you look at Andrew Thomas, and I love him. I root for Georgia. I'm a big Georgia football fan. I loved him out of college, and I was happy the Giants took him. But there's something going on there technique-wise. We saw that there was that report about him, changing his technique from college, and I don't know if that's the offensive line coach, whatever the case might be. But he looks lost as a rookie right now, and I hope he turns things around. And people are trying to give up on Thomas already. We're 7 games in.
Yeah.
Or whatever we're in.
We don't have Eric Flowers yet. I don't want the Eric Flowers comparison.
Yeah, we don't have Eric Flowers yet. But people are like, trade him. He's a rookie. And you also forget, everyone, all these Giants fans are saying give up on everyone. You also have to realize we didn't have an off season. We didn't have OTAs. We didn't have training camp. We jumped straight into the season. So, of course, a rookie that doesn't have practice or like barely an off season to learn everything is going to struggle right away. Like if you look, and that's the thing. I could talk about Giants fans for hours right now, but everyone, and I understand it's very, very frustrating, but you can't, like, everyone's like, give up on Jones without realizing that we'll be in the same spot if we took a different quarterback. Give up on Andrew Thomas. He's a rookie that didn't have an offseason. Give up on these players. Like, you have to give it a little bit of time, but I think that we need a different general manager at the end of the day. We need a different leader at the end of the day. I think that's the key thing for the Giants is I think they need a new voice. And I like Joe Judge. I hope he stays. If they bring it, that's the thing. I think the reason why they might stay in house is because if they go out of house, then the new GM might want to bring in a different guy. But I think Joe Judge is our guy. I know our record doesn't show it, but the team has played drastically better in this season. And albeit, we don't have a good record, but they played drastically better on paper. If you look, I think we lost like 5 games this year, and it was a turn by like 7 or less points.
Yes, that's exactly the stat. Every 7,
but it's better than getting blown out,
and then just
like we used to.
You're right. That's the thing. We're always in these games, and sometimes in sports, it really is a matter of. Sometimes the ball has to just roll a certain way in your favor. It really seems lately the Giants it hasn't been that way, and.
If you look at all the stuff this season, Ingram drop. There was a couple other key players that we didn't convert on. People drop. It's just like
if Ingram drops,
we have another win. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the penalties top, and also if you look like the Steelers game, if Jones just throws it away and doesn't get popped as he's trying to force a play and that gets picked off, we're taking the lead against the Steelers and have the momentum. So there's just certain things like the ball hasn't rolled away for Giants but at least they're in games. That's the thing. If you look at the last few years, like you said, like you just get blown out. It's like we need to go in the game. That's it.
That's
like,
the Jets' problem.
We went like the Rams a couple years ago. Yeah.
That's the Jets.
They're the Jets' problem. Yeah.
That's the one. They're just getting blown out, and it's just depressing football. Well, we just, I have been very critical with the Giants lately, especially in this podcast, but now starting to really more. I guess there's really only really reevaluating things and knowing, probably staying corrected that if we are playing much better than we've seen and also seeing that we are in all the games except the 49ers one. But, we can only go up from here. We can see some adjustments. Who knows what could happen? And with the defense, with the division being so awful, you never know. There's still 10 weeks to go.
It's crazy to me that we have 10 weeks to go and we still have a shot at the NFC East and we're 1-6 or wherever we are. Like that just shows how bad the NFC East has been this year.
Yeah, we're definitely not winning a wild card with this, even with the second one, but we got to get that East, and we just have to win games at the end of the day. Just keep winning games, and definitely if we could beat Tom Brady in our own place. That's a good start. And
I don't know if that's going to happen without having Will Hernandez again. Even though he's been great, but we'll see. It could happen. You don't know.
This is just me being a hopeless romantic in football.
We've had Brady's number before. We could possibly do it again. That's for sure.
And my last football point with Trevor Lawrence, and one thing I really didn't consider until someone brought it up in a previous podcast. Mm-hmm. The only thing that kind of contradicts is that he did win a national championship. But most of his games are against the ACC, and when it comes to football ACC, with all due respect, there's some good schools or programs, but it's not like, SEC, where every team is pretty much just an NFL minor league team, whether it's BC or North Carolina or Georgia Tech, Florida State. I know Miami's better than they have been lately, and then Notre Dame is just independent, but do you think that makes any difference of showing Trevor Lawrence's credibility, or do you think that's just was the person who brought it up well, I should what do you think just bringing it up like, oh, he's the ACC, he's not seen as hard competition in the NFL?
No, I think the ACC is still a decent conference. I mean, just the things he's done, if you look at it, even if just the college football, like the college football playoffs, is a completely different ballgame with the teams that you're playing against.
Yeah, and like
compared
I
to
said,
the
he won the
ACC.
national championship
He's
before.
won a national championship. So like, that's saying like Deshaun Watson just cruised his way to the national title. No, like he had to prove he's a winner, and he did. And Trevor Lawrence has proved that he's a winner. It's I understand it's not the SEC and it's not a tough conference, but you still have to show out.
Yeah.
Every Saturday you're on the field, and he's done that. And I think in the big moments he's played extremely well. It's not like he's struggled in the big moments. If he struggled in the big moments, that'd be a different story. And LSU's all that stuff. That's tough. That's just a tough game to play against. And Joe Burrow was playing out of his mind. But it's just that like if you look at certain things, is that he showed up in those big moments, and I don't think you should discredit him for that. And like I said, he just has the stature of just being a franchise quarterback. The size, the arm strength, everything, the accuracy, everything you want to see. He's probably one of the best college football prospects we've seen. And like you said, we've seen him in those moments. If he never made it to like a college football playoff, that's a different story. Like, you can probably make that argument. But I think, just that when lights were all on him and he came out and balled out, I think it just showed that he's how good of a quarterback he can be.
Mm-hmm. No doubt, bro. No doubt. And we'll see where he goes, and just hopefully, most of all, just recovers from Corona, and then starts on the process of being that major recruit, compared to like Elway and Peyton coming out.
Yeah,
of
he's
college.
being compared to Elway, Peyton, and Andrew Luck and all of them. So we'll just have to wait and see if he lives up to the hype. I think he has all the tools to definitely live up to it, though.
Yes. And last thing, the positive sports thing, then we could get into some more other funny practical things. You're, as you mentioned, a New York Mets fan. Today, this very day, it looks like the owners are going to approve Steve Cohen as the new owner of the New York Mets, with the exception of seeing, Bill de Blasio wants to stop that, but I don't think he'd be. I don't
think he'd be
he can't be that stupid. Does he really want to piss off people that much more?
I don't know. I hope not. I don't know, because I live in New Jersey, so I don't really know how he is. But once I saw that as a Mets fan, I'm like, please, just give us this. This is the moment we've been waiting for forever at this point, and we just want this one moment. It's like, we all got happy a couple months ago. It's like, okay, this deal's final. Steve Cohen's our guy. He's going to bring all this glorious money to our franchise.
It's beautiful money.
Yeah, all this beautiful money, and we're going to have so much fun. And then all that stuff happened with the Wilpons, and it fell through. And then I was just like, so we're so sad. I was like, me and my dad were like, we're very upset. And then it's like these last few months, okay, it's final. Like their deal's had. We don't have to deal with A-Rod or J-Lo. This is it. It's Cohen, no one else. And of course, it's like right when we get to the finish line, de Blasio's like, I don't know if I want to approve this. And we're like, come on, we're so close. We are right here. We're at the finish line.
What do you have to gain from that? If he was to do that,
I have no idea.
I know
it makes sense.
His mayoral. I know his term as mayor will end 2021. Yeah. So like, yeah, that's just not fair. It is comic. No offense, it's hilarious to watch. How could you get just so close and?
It just happens every time. It just happens. It's just the life of being a Mets fan, Matt. That's as simply as I can put it. It is life of being a Mets fan. Is that we look like we're like so close to being good or decent or whatever, or having a new owner, and then something happens because we're the Mets. It's just our life story. It's just we get so close, and then everything falls apart. It's been a struggle for sure. But yeah.
Like, as you know, my dad's a Mets fan, my family, and I was born to be a Mets fan, but I just went to a Yankee game first and just stuck with it. And I've wondered, that was one of the biggest days of my childhood. Yeah. It was supposed to be, I'm supposed to be a Mets fan. I just went to a Yankee game first and stayed there ever since. Yeah. But, assuming everything's going to go, and really it's the 5% chance de Blasio will do that.
Yeah.
But assuming Cohen comes in starting today, and he is the owner now, I saw that he's going to be worth $13 billion,
yep.
And like the second richest owner
in all of sports.
$3 billion. So he has
Yeah.
quite an edge.
Yeah.
The team is looking good, and it's funny. It's all homegrown guys. Your Pete Alonso's, your Jeff McNeil's, your
Conforto.
DeGrom's, Conforto.
Andres Jimenez looked good in his little sample size this
Yeah.
year. I like him a lot. So
If they bring the DH in, you can have Dom Smith now. Doesn't have to compete
yeah.
for a position. What would you like to see the Mets do this offseason?
Get a catcher. That's the
Mhm.
big thing. I know they declined Wilson Ramos. I think that's
They
been
did.
one of our weaknesses. You know, the last few years has been catcher. Does that mean we go out and get JT Realmuto? I wouldn't mind it, but it depends. He's about to turn 30, and I think he wants like $200 million. So that's a lot for an aging catcher. There's
Yeah, I mean
probably a
he's
couple of
good,
cheaper
but
options.
not that good. No
Yeah,
offense to him.
no.
Not
I
two
think
hundred million dollar good.
no,
I'm
I
saying.
think he's one of the best catchers in baseball, maybe the best catcher in the NL. But it's just that if you look at just like 30 as a catcher with $200 million and all that stuff, that's got it locked up, a lot in terms of what you're trying to do for the Mets. So I think there might be a couple better, cheaper options. I know Mets fans had said if we can't go Realmuto, sign James McCann. I would like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we need a true center fielder. I love Brandon Nimmo, but he's not a center fielder. So I think we need like a true defensive guy, whether that's Springer, which I don't know if I want because of everything that happened, with the Astros.
You saw don't mean
But
to sidetrack. You saw AJ Hinch is going to the Tigers. It looks like
yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
he
that's
can make them
interesting to
cheap.
see. I was surprised about it. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I
He
saw
can
you
make
guys
them
the Tigers.
cheap.
I'm like, oh, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that like the MLB team didn't wait like a few more years to kind of let everything settle and then bring back AJ Hinch. They're like, nah, it's banned. Come to the Tigers.
The Tigers are desperate as
So,
shows. But anyways, you were
yeah,
saying
without a doubt. But yeah, so I think we need a true defensive center fielder. I know there's a couple options out there. I know Jack Cabello Jr. has been floated around. I know even
that'd be cool.
trading for Starling Marte in the last few years. I like Jack Bradley Jr. I think that could be a good signing. We just need a guy out there, just to help out. And then, either we could kick, Nemo to left and have Conforto stay in right. I think that's fine. And, third base has been another kind of issue the last few years, obviously with David Wright retiring and his, I issues. I like JD Davis and things like that, but it's like we need like true guys in their positions. Like we're constantly moving like McNeil to like outfield, back to second, back to third, open for first, So we need like true guys, and I think that really led the team. And starting pitching, it's like that's the last thing too. It's like we're wasting years of DeGrom, which stinks. With someone as dominant as him, it's like you need guys to back him up. And I understand too, if you look at everything, like, the offense like never shows up when he pitches, which that has to change too. But we need guys to back him up. It's not like, because you can't wish every fifth day when DeGrom's on the hill that this is an automatic win. It just doesn't happen. And so we need guys to back him up. And I know, I like Syndergaard. I know he's coming off Tommy John. We'll see what happens when he comes back. But, I know like Marcus Stroman is looking for big money in the offseason and stuff like that. I know like Mets fans want to go Trevor Bauer because I know he's been saying he wants to do these like kind of one year deal kind of things, which would be interesting. I wouldn't mind having him, but we definitely need to steady that. And obviously at the end of the day is the bullpen too. Edwin Diaz looked really good this year compared to last year. I know he had his moments early on, but he looked a lot better. Like he was finally getting the confidence back to being the dominant closer he was with the Mariners. I'm happy to see that, but we definitely need a few arms to help him out too. One of the reasons that we struggled down the stretch was that we didn't have Edwin, which was shocking because people were like, oh, whatever. But like when the crucial games we needed down the stretch, we pitched Edwin on the third day in a row. So he was out for a couple crucial games that we needed him to have those saves. So, we definitely need another arm. So they're probably, out of all of the teams I root for, like the most promising to be successful because like you said, there's a lot of really, really good young homegrown talent on that team. It's just that we need a couple more key pieces out there and we'll be fine. It's just that like that's the thing. Like if we don't have the DH this year, it's like what are you gonna do with Dom? Like if Pete's struggling, are we gonna have Dom in for a few days? Did Pete sit for a few days? Like I don't want Dom in the out. Like I love Dom as a first baseman, I think is a really good defensive first baseman too. I think people don't see that. But like in left field, he struggled. It's kind of hard to just do like a patchwork move from the left field kind of deal. And I want him out there. But that's the thing. It's like, okay, Pete is really, really good. I know he struggled this year, but like he has all the promise in the world and we want him out there on the field. But like Dom had one of his best years, if not his best year of his career, and showed what he could do offensively. And we want that in the lineup. So it's like very tough to see what this offseason is going to bring. Does that mean like, we get a center fielder and then we trade Nemo and then maybe try to just really, really get Dom Smith reps in left? Like, who knows? That's the thing. It's like the good thing is that there's depth on this team. Is just that, like I said, there's just a couple key pieces they have to attack. Starting, rotation probably being the key, catcher and bullpen. That hopefully with Cohen's, like we said, beautiful money, he brings a lot of key pieces, and it's not like more of, okay, let's give these guys cheap 1 year, 2 year deals and slap together a team. Like Rick Porcello was a failed experiment. That was like one of the things that, okay, we'll give him like a $10 million deal. Let's see what he can do. Like we need guys that we know can be out there and be consistent out there. That's the key thing. It's hard that like, we have, just DeGrom right now, because if you look, Matz was a disaster. Syndergaard was out and Stroman opted out. So it's like, if we don't build it up, we're going to obviously struggle. So I hope that's kind of the plan for the offseason is that, because I think, like I said, they're probably out of all my teams, the most promising to be successful, and they're just a few pieces away. So we'll have to see. So like I said, it's going to be interesting because they're going to have a rushed offseason as well. And with Cohen coming in, it's like going to be super quick because we don't know when the next season is going to start. So we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be interesting for sure, though.
Do you think Brody Van Wagenen should get the boat as the GM, the boot?
Yeah, I think so. I just don't think that with Cohen coming in that he's going to have former people from the bullpen. I know that he's bringing back Sandy Anderson, which is great. I like that move. But I think Brody will probably be gone. He might stay in like a team role, but I think he'll probably be gone. I think they're probably just going to bring in their own guys. And it's nothing against Brody. I understand the moves that he made at the time because, like I said, there were a few pieces away from being successful. They just backfired. And when backfired for the beginning, at least Robinson Cano backfired in the beginning, but now he turned it kind of back around. But like, if you just look at some of the moves, he traded like a bunch of prospects away.
Oh, and
that guy got no returns. And we traded like Billy Hamilton for a prospect, and we DFA'd Billy Hamilton. So
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to laugh, but that's like what no. Oh boy, like dang.
Yeah. So like that's the thing. It's like I understood some of the moves he made early on, but then there were some down the line where I'm like, it doesn't make sense. He's hit on some of them. JD Davis has been good when like they doing that, but like overwhelmingly him cleaning house our prospects and all that, our farm system has not worked out. I think we just need a guy to come in that will be more a little like straightforward with the decisions he makes, and hopefully doesn't give up a bunch of top prospects down the line because we need them. So
I don't think it's gonna happen, but it would be cool if you had Theo Epstein come in. I know his contract is ending for the Cubs. Yeah. He could do the three-peat, the three major cities to have starving franchises win. That would be if he was up for the challenge and just be royalty for
I would love
sports
that.
executives.
Like that's the guy I would like. That's a guy I would love to have in. Like Theo would be like the perfect idea for me to bring in because he obviously has done it in now multiple franchises, especially the Cubs, which like that was a tough job, obviously, because they didn't win a World Series for 100+ years, and he comes in and turns that whole franchise around. So that's a guy I would love, in that 5-year span that he had and all that stuff. And like, he made the bet, if I don't win like a World Series or whatever in 10 years, I'll be gone. And he won a World Series. So like he bets on himself, and I like that. Like that's the thing. So that'd be a guy, but we'll see what happens. I know, Sandy would be coming in and he built obviously a lot of this team that we see today. So he obviously has an eye for talent. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see what happens down the line.
Yeah, and with like the Yankees now, it's been I'm not trying to. My Yankees problem is they're nowhere close, and it's been 12 years, but it's a long time for Yankees at least. But It's
Yeah.
12 years a good
Yeah.
amount, and well, we've seen this has been some very tough playoff losses. Chapman 2 season-ending home runs back to back, which no one's ever done that.
Yeah.
And if you
And then
count
he's smiling too. That's the thing. I cracked up because someone did a side by side of him like smiling after he did that, and like that's the thing. I would be furious. Like I don't know how you're just like kind of just like it's happened again. I'm just gonna just smile and walk away. I
yeah,
understand like the
why are you
Astros
laughing
one.
at this?
That's different because like you look back at it now, it's like okay, that's like whatever they were kind of
Oh
cheating,
yeah,
but like
he knew. That's why he laughed at
he
that.
knew.
That's why I gave him back. I did not give him the third
But
this time
yeah,
against the Rays. No,
like
I was pissed.
yeah. So this time around, I'm like, no, it's like you shouldn't be smiling. Albeit I know it was against like probably your biggest rival this playoffs, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just time and time again, it's like you guys have all the promise and everything right there, and it just doesn't work out. You
Yeah,
guys run into a buzzsaw of the hottest team, and this year we just happen
right.
to be Tampa. So
And with I don't want Chapman in the closer role. That's three. If you count the Cubs giving up the game tying home run, that's 3 times the charm in the biggest spots. Why should we give him a chance? Literally
yeah,
3 times is enough. Literally 3 strikes, pun intended.
yeah.
And I want Yankees they're gonna exercise Britton's contract. I hope he goes in the closer role, to be honest, and have Chapman be a setup man. I hope they switch. It seems to make the most sense
Yeah.
after that. I do have to say we have a lot of promise, but we have players who are sink or swim. Judge, Stanton, and Voit. They'll either hit clutch home runs or they'll badly strike out. Stanton's massive contract. No one's stupid enough to touch that. So we're stuck with
you're there for the long haul with him. Albeit he had an unbelievable postseason this year,
Finally.
which is like what you guys were paying him to do.
Exactly.
So hopefully, he continues that into next season and hopefully stays healthy. It's just like we said, it's like with Judge and Stanton, it's like the problem is that you guys can be so dominant, but they always get hurt.
Yep.
That's the problem with those two. So
it's sad to see that it looks like Judge is an injury-prone player officially.
Yeah.
And then we have, I honestly would trade Voit. I know he had an amazing season this year, but I'd rather just trade him for an asset, whether the bullpen or someone to add to the bullpen or a left-handed bat. Most of all, re-sign Didi to Gregorius would be great, even for a 1-year deal. Put Glaber back at second and put DJ at first. And then Gio staying at third. I'd like to see Michael Brantley come to the Yankees as a left fielder. I think he's a lefty bat. More of a contact hitter, so we don't have to another guy who's a sink or swim, and he could be good defensively as well. So that's who I hope the Yankees do. Of course, Cashman never does what we think he will do, except Garrett Cole, and he proved himself. He did his job in Game 5. The hitters didn't. So. And I'm not actually mad at Boone. I know a lot of Yankee fans are. Like Aaron Boone is, again, I will have to we have to talk about this because it matches everything together. Analytics, sabermetrics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where you're on with the fence at it, but I'm more old school. I like going off gut feelings. I understand sabermetrics for the regular season. I really do. But the postseason, no. I think that's just a whole new game, different mentality. And we can see the ultimate example, Game 6.
Mm-hmm.
Blake Snell pitching the game of his life, and they have a lead. And just because he's about it the third time in the order, and analytics say you're more likely to give up runs your third time around. But this is Game 6 of the freaking World Series.
Yeah.
Who cares what they're thinking? You're trying to force a Game 7. Who cares what the computer says? And Kevin Cash said, screw it. I'm going to take him out anyways. And what happens? Give up. First of all, they put the bad relievers in anyway. Nick Anderson was doing horrible.
Awful in the postseason,
And they give up 3 runs and they lose the World Series simply because they relied on it one too many times. And it literally cost the dang World Series. So, I don't know. Again, I don't know how you're fused with sabermetrics, and that's also led to Boone making some questionable decisions, like taking Delvey Garcia out in Game 2, only pitching a couple of innings and stuff. But that's the one thing that I know Boone doesn't deserve any credit on. But besides that, he hasn't been showing he's a good manager. But what's your thought? Do you think this proves this bad decision by Cash that don't focus on analytics or like approach them differently by time you're in the postseason and stuff like that? Or basically, what are you thinking?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I was literally talking to my dad about this, like the day after the World Series ended, because
Mhm.
he was watching the game, but he didn't understand like what happened in that moment. So I told him, and my dad's the same way. He's old school like you. It's like, yeah, I said at that moment, like you have to go off your eye. It doesn't matter what the numbers. It's the postseason elimination game, and I said the
World
problem
Series.
that the World Series. The problem with the whole decision behind that was it wasn't like you're going to your best, like arguably your best reliever on paper, yes. But if you look at the postseason numbers, he was struggling. He gave up like 6 straight runs in 6 straight postseason games.
Yeah.
You can't make that decision. And like I understand that Key was saying like, oh, third time over. That's fine in the regular season. This is the elimination game in the World Series, and no one is touching Blake Snell. And you
Yeah.
look at some of the OPSs. I think I remember I heard. I don't know if it was Buck or whatever, but he said if you look at some of the OPSs, like on the Dodgers side, they had some of the highest OPSs in World Series history, and Blake was shutting them down.
Hmm.
That's me and my dad agreed on that moment. You have to go off your eye. I know he gave up that single. I said if he gives up another single, he gives up an extra base hit. Okay, maybe it's time to pull a plug on him. They're starting to see him. It's time to pull him. But if he is dominating, he just gave up a bloop single, and you're going to go to your guy who's given up 6 straight runs because the numbers is telling you that you can't. You just can't. You can't. You have to use your judgment. Like you said, you have to go with your gut. And that's why everyone got mad, because everyone's gut decision was keep the guy out there. Let him get out of that inning. If he doesn't, like I said, if he gives up another hit or whatever and he can't get out of the inning, okay, pull the plug, get him out. It's over. He had a great start, but we got to move on. You pulled him out early, and you go to your struggling reliever who instantly gives up the lead. So I said at that moment, I hope everyone in baseball and everyone in analytics and sabermetrics and everything looks at that moment and says, okay, let's start using our eye a little bit more too, guys. Let's just not look at the numbers. Let's just go use our eye in certain moments, because that just showed, like, I know it's great, the numbers are there, but it shows that it can instantly backfire, and you have to use your eye, and especially in that huge of a moment. Like, you can't look away at it. Like, it just, Snell, like, I don't know what the number said on his card. Oh, maybe Snell struggled in the going third time around the lawn or all regular season or postseason. But he's dominating this game. Keep him out there. Like, it just, and that's the thing. I told my dad, I said, I hope everyone's eye is that everyone starts using their eye a little bit and stop relying on the numbers. Because as great as the numbers were for the Rays in the regular season, and it's what got them there, and the postseason got them there, at that moment you have to use your eye. You have to use your judgment. You just can't go, okay, the lineup's coming down third over, they're going to start seeing Snell. Let them start seeing Snell. If they hit off Snell, pull him. That's all you have to do. You just can't take him out when he's having arguably the best game of the season. Like, his teammates were like, this is the best I saw Blake Snell all year. And they pulled him, and it cost him the World Series. Like, as simple as that. Like,
and
he is
he has to live
dominating,
with that
and he
now.
pulled him, and it cost him. And he has to live with that. Like,
That whole
Cash has to live with
franchise.
that. The Rays have to live with that. Snell has to live with that. It's brutal. It's brutal because I honestly believe if Snell got out of the inning, they could have forced the game 7. It just how good he was doing that whole game easily. And now you have to go back, and Rays fans, Rays organization, Cash, they're going to stay up at night, because what if? It's now the biggest, arguably now the most recent what if probably in sports right now is, what if Blake Snell stayed in and got out of that inning?
Not even. It's gonna be a thing until they win a World Series, whenever that day happens. I mean, I hope not for a long time as a Yankee fan, but that's why I was happy to see. And I have to say this. Hope you don't mind me saying this. The only time recently it has been seen to go with your gut was Terry Collins and Matt Harvey. That's the only other time. But that was just.
That was another thing that would bother me too. Is that the whole during that time was the whole like innings limit.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Oh, he's getting close to his innings limit. If
The
Harvey
World
wants to stay
Series.
out there, well, let's keep him out there. If he wants to go through his arm because he wants to, let him.
At least he'll have that ring to show for it, right?
Yeah.
Yo, man, let's talk to just a few other things before we wrap this up. Yo, one of the things we have worked for major corporate how do I say this? Because we've worked for, I think I'm saying this right, major retailers in this, or all right, we've worked for major companies before college. You worked at Dunkin' Donuts,
Mm-hmm.
obviously the coffee spot in America between them and Starbucks. And I've worked at Kohl's, another big store across the United States, retail store. Yo, man, tell me those times working at Dunkin' and my times working at Kohl's. What are those some of the funny? Well, first, what did it teach you working those places like before college and stuff? And then when we talk about the funny stuff that's happened, I got stuff to share.
I mean, it taught me a good amount. I mean, I worked at like a little, like not a smaller little like stock shelf kind of things. But working at Dunkin', I don't know, it was an experience. It kind of like ironically kind of got me ready to work in sports, like just in television and in live TV, which is what we did in college. Because it's super, like people don't realize, if you work at a drive-through Dunkin', it is super fast-paced. Like on the weekends, it's like slammed. You're constantly making coffee all day. I mean, it just is what it was. So it kind of got me ready for like that, like kind of like the fast-paced movement of television and live TV and stuff like that. As be it as be, I'm just pouring coffee in a mug. You have to do it quick, and you have to do it to be customer satisfaction. It taught me obviously customer service. Teamwork, all that stuff. So it taught me a lot working there. Looking back at it now, like was it the best job? No, but I got paid and I got free coffee, so it had its benefits. But no, for sure, it did teach me stuff because, like I said, like people don't realize that those people are working really, really hard and really, really fast, and there's customers out there that are like kind of mean and rude and stuff like that. But like like I used to work like on Sundays from like 6 a.m. to like 2 in the afternoon. So I was working, like literally opening through like church rush, all that stuff. And it is chaotic as can be.
Is that what they call it, church rush?
Yeah, it was pretty much like after church. I call it after church rush because it'd be like the 9:30, you had the 10:30 or like 9:30s, like noon, all that stuff. So there were a lot of people coming. So you had to be kind of on your toes and ready to go, and that's what kind of, like I said multiple times, like it kind of got me ready for TV. It's just like because it's the same thing in that area. Like I'm working, had a lot of good opportunities working for the Westchester Knicks and learning a lot in their live production with Whitaker Media, and that taught me the same thing. Like be on the fly. Something's messed up, I'm out there. Like I was like doing audio and all this stuff when I'm working in television, and it's like I'm flying to the spot. Okay, what's messed up? What needs to get fixed? And I'm running back. And this can be all in a span of a minute. Like I have a commercial break to go from point A to point B, fix it, and back. So it kind of got me ready for that, and I'm kind of appreciative looking back at it now. Like I said, like there's some good moments, there's good memories, but I was happy. I'm not, I'm happy I was able to move on and find other jobs and stuff like that. That's for sure. So yeah.
Yeah, like that's the thing also with Kohl's, teaching me patience, also teaching me get ready for anything in a fast-paced environment. As you know, us working in production and broadcasting media, that's nothing but that. Teaching me how to communicate with all different types of people. It's easily translated when you work with high-profiled individuals and executives and stuff like that. And it just taught me that one, appreciate your job, appreciate where you are, and don't forget your roots. Especially don't forget your roots.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, like I can go off like what you just said. It's like there's people these days that they're trying to get like the highest of the spots of jobs right now. Like they're trying to come out of college and get these
and be an
top
executive
jobs.
right away.
Yeah, be executive or be a director or a producer or whatever the case might be right away. But at the end of the day, like you have to know where you come from. You have to work your way up. Like me and we've struggled to find jobs out of college. We know what it takes. Like there's people out there, and I just give a quick advice to people out there. I know it's during the pandemic and they're struggling right now. But in any field, like you do stuff and make yourself like as useful as possible. Pick up anything to learn. Like I started off not getting paid at an internship, like I said, at Whitaker Media with the Westchester Knicks. I came in, I wrapped wires, I broke down sets, I set up audio stuff, I helped out set up cameras, things like that. But I wasn't getting paid, but I was learning everything on the fly. I was like, okay, this is how this is set up. This is how this is set up. Like, and so when I got hired at certain positions, I had all these different experiences. Like, okay, I edited in college, but now I know how to set up an audio board. Now I know how to set up this. Like, so you have to start from the bottom and work your way up. You can't just like fast track your way to superstardom if you want. You can't just factory track way to as much as you want to. You have to kind of work your way. You just have to keep on grinding at it and learn everything along the way. Learn as much as you can, because like I said, I don't think I would have gotten the job where I am right now at the NBA if I didn't have my experiences, my internship, my experiences at MLB, and now where I am here is because I literally learned as much as I could to make myself as universal as possible. Oh, Alex knows how to, edit, but he also knows how to set up this. So, okay, Alex, we need you here. Let's get you here. Or, like stuff like that. Like, Matt, work, cameras, you know how to do audio, you know how to do a bunch of stuff. Okay, Matt, we need you at this set because you know how to do this. Like, you're not doing your normal job. You're going to do this because you have that background. Like, just make yourself as universal as possible. That's the thing I want to, make sure people know is just that learn as much as you can. Be it as wrapping a cable. You don't think, oh, that's the fancies of jobs, but you don't understand. Like, you wrapping cables well and working hard at what you do can get you opportunities down the line. I don't think I would get my opportunities like with where I am now is if it wasn't I wrapped the cable to begin with, or audio and stuff like that. Like, I learned every day. I came and wanted to learn something new every day, and then I became, okay, Alex wants to learn. Alex really works hard. Let's give him this opportunity. Let's see what he does. So I think that's a key thing, for sure. And like I said, we can go back all the way back to Dunkin. That's the same thing. As much as I want, I want an easy job or whatever, or want a high paying job or whatever. Sometimes you have to pour coffee in a mug and learn certain things to get you to the next spot in life. That's what you have to do. So, yeah.
Wow, I've recorded 20 podcasts so far. That was one of the coolest and most, I commend you on your achievements, and I really appreciate you taking the time. I like that a lot. I really liked you spreading that. Thank you for that, honestly. I think a lot of people, I definitely love hearing it. It's a great reminder even for myself to keep working and going, and I just really appreciate you sharing that specifically. So thank you, Alex. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem at all.
And that's like just a quick thing. That's why this podcast is a thing until I work again, is staying on not being rusty in the Adobe Creative Cloud. I use the Big Four with making it, Photoshop to help make the logo. I use Adobe Audition for this, Premiere, and After Effects to do the video. So like that, you're right, doing something useful and getting as much skills as you can, because they will use you and need you. And is there any, can you tell me like the funniest, can you tell me one of the funniest situations you ever see at Dunkin' Donuts?
But mine is weird. Mine is like it's funny and like like not like a messed up. It's kind of, but it involves someone stealing. Okay.
Don't worry, judgment-free zone. Does this have to be? So, there's no incrimination you're about to say, are you?
No. I'm not incriminating myself. This is not
good.
So when I was working at Dunkin', it was a few months before I was leaving for college, and I was working like a night shift that night. So we had this customer come in all the time, and he would get the same coffee or whatever. And, he was just a regular. We didn't think much of it. So I come in that day, and my manager's there. So I already knew something was going on. Or my boss, like the owner of the store was there. So I knew something was going on. So she brought me aside, said, I need you to watch this video, and, we gotta talk. So I'm in trouble. I thought I did something, right? So, all right. So I go and watch this video. It's just regular. He comes in the afternoon, gets his typical drink, and these people are making their drink. So when the lady, my coworker, turned around, he stole money from the tip jar.
What?
Put it in his pocket, right? And then just continued to go his way. So they figured it out because it was a busy afternoon, like why the tip jar is so small. So they went back and reviewed the tape, saw the guy. So he said, just be on the lookout for him, whatever the case might be. So no problem. We might not see him for a while. So I'm working that shift, right? I'm working with my other coworker, and it's like nighttime. I'm about to end my shift. And guess who shows up? The regular.
Yeah.
So he walks in, acting like everything's normal. And I go over to like my manager on the shift that time. I'm like, he's in here. Like, the guy's here. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, the guy who stole from the chip jar is in the store.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, great. So he goes over, and we just do his normal thing. And my manager is like, can I ask you a question to this customer? And I'm like standing there. I'm like, uh-oh. He's like, why'd you do it? And the guy is like, what do you mean? He's like, why did you do it? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, you stole from the tip jar. We have you on camera stealing from the tip jar.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy is shocked at this moment, right? And
Okay.
I'm standing there. I'm like, oh God, like this is wild. And so my coworker, I'm not even kidding. It's like the funniest thing. He goes and he's like, I need your ID and I need you to go to the car and grab you $50 from what you stole and come back and bring it in. So I'm standing there. I'm like, uh-oh, this guy's just gonna bail. This guy is gonna bail. Like, get in his car, he's gone. He's like, all right, I don't have the money on me right now, but like, I'll go to the bank and come back. So he comes back, gets his ID, gives us his ID, we scan it, gives us some money or whatever it might be, and leaves. So I come back the next day, and we get yelled at for doing that because we were supposed to contact the manager and not do what we did. So of course, like we were like, what? Like we just helped you. Like this guy was stealing from you. Like, what are you doing? And we ended up getting yelled at. And that's why it's not really like a hilarious story, but it ended up happening with the guy. He used to go to all these different stores. They put his picture like on the wall in the Dunkin', and they're like, yeah, like if you see this guy, don't serve him. He's banned. He got banned from like 30 plus Dunkin' Donuts in the area because of what he did. So yeah, it was like this weird story that I found like funny because I'm just like looking back at it. And I'm like, why did we get yelled at?
Yeah, you like, went to save the day. Like,
but dude, yeah, and then obviously, yeah, there's weird orders. Like some guy used to come in and get like 4 bacon, egg, and cheeses on croissants and eat them. Like it was just like him. It was that. Someone got like 20 Splenda and a large coffee once, and I like was like, what?
20 Splenda in it.
20 Splenda, like yeah, there were just things like that, just like certain little things where I'm just sitting there like, wait, did I hear you right? Like I heard 20 Splenda in my ear, and I'm like, wait, did you say 2? And they're like, no, 20, and I was like, oh geez. So I had to like manually put in 20 Splenda so the person making the coffee knew that
he watched it 20 Splenda packets. Oh, the sugar all alone.
Oh yeah,
that is not good for the heart.
I don't know. No,
Dude,
no.
When I'd work at Kohl's, I'd have some crazy customers who like that. Like, one thing this was weird. I do not endorse this and I'm not encouraging it. But if you steal something from the store, you're not supposed to really chase after them. You have to let the loss prevention to get it. Yeah. But I know this kid who actually did it once, my buddy Jake, and he tackled the robber. They said, let him go. And he bounces out. He moves away, but he had some balls, and he said, like, oh, I got a weapon on me and stuff. He just didn't care. He's trying to be the superhero. He tackles him, then he bounces away again, and I don't know what happened from there on. I remember once somebody tried to use an Old Navy card that said Old Navy. I can't put this through. It says Old Navy. No, put it through. It works. And I'm feeling like a dumbass swiping this Old Navy card that says Old Navy on it. And then I heard this story. You've heard of Kohl's Cash?
Yeah.
Remember someone had a dispute at Kohl's Cash, and then there was a police officer arresting someone for stealing. And then she approached the stop. This is wrong. They're not letting me take my Kohl's Cash. And I wasn't there for this, but apparently the cop was just there for I guess there's 2 cops. One was taking care of the other one, and, he had the police officers hearing the complaint. And, well, the guy was just like, I can't help you. Whatever happened, like, geez. That's the Old Navy ones. And then I remember I seen the most stereotypical someone trying to steal clothes. Like, my clothes people try to steal all the time. It was like it was normal to see. Yeah,
people trying to. Yeah.
But I remember someone. I swear to you, this was too perfect. Someone's trying to steal earrings. The LP catches him. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And it's the perfect. Shoot! Starts running out. See my buddy Anthony chase it after they catch it. I'm like, this is too stereotypical. Like, they just like literally ready to run for it.
People are weird, man. Some people are just weird. Like, it's why go to a store and just try to do that? Like, sometimes you got away with it, but like if you go to a place like Kohl's, like there's cameras like a bunch of different places. Like everywhere. Someone's eventually going to see you. Like,
and then someone's gonna get you on video, probably running. Yeah. Like, oh, look at this, go viral. Jeez. Yeah. Yo, Alex, I'm gonna try something for you, with you specifically for the first time. This is the first time any of these podcasts I'm doing as a nice finale. It's called the Proust Questionnaire. Okay. I don't know if you heard. There was this French guy named Bernard Pivot, and he asked these 10 specific questions, and then the most famous questionnaire is I don't know if you ever heard of Inside the Actor Studio. Will Ferrell played the character James Lipton, and he asked these very same questions. So maybe you know what I'm about to ask. Maybe those who don't. But I'm going to ask you these specific questions, and yeah, just answer them as honestly as you can, nice and quick. And then after, I'll ask my own last question. So, Alex, here we go. You ready for this? The very first
All right,
person
I'm
to
ready.
do the Proust questionnaire on the Productive Conversation podcast. This is Alex Young. Very number one. All right, Alex, what is your favorite word?
Favorite word?
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe my favorite word would be favorite. I don't know.
Favorite. All right, we're gonna go with favorite. What is your least favorite word?
Least favorite word? Moist. Don't like. I joke around and say it a lot, but I don't like that word at all.
What turns you on in this world?
Turns me on in this world? Sports. Sports is my key thing.
What turns you off?
It's a dumb one. Certain aspects of politics that I don't like. certain things I say.
I hear that, man. What is a sound or noise that you love?
The beach. That's probably my favorite sound.
What is the sound or noise that you hate?
Fire alarm. Can't stand fire alarm.
My high school, Alex, would have a fire alarm once a week, and it was all the time someone pulling it or getting caught smoking.
Fire alarms were terrible.
Oh, and the complexes?
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Like 2 in the morning?
Bad. Yeah,
like,
it was so bad.
It's kind of weird to say. Like, the high school one wasn't – it was just a regular bell. They still counted as fire alarm. But, yeah.
But it was, like, super loud, though.
Oh, yeah.
My school was super loud.
The Uhart one was screeching. It was like people scratching on a chalkboard.
Yeah, it was like be like right above like your bed. Like on one side of the room there'd be like the fire alarm thing. So like some poor soul like me, sleeping on that side, when that thing would go off, I would like jump out of bed because it was like right next to my head. It was so loud.
Oh, dude. All right.
But I could just say real quick, fire alarms are important, people. Make sure you don't take it off noise. I know. I just hate the sound.
My funniest fire alarm, I mean, I know this kid who would sleep through them on purpose, and he would somehow train his brain, and I don't know what it's. He's trying to be a lawyer now, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's not the best idea to try to sleep through your fire alarm, because that could save you. As much as you hate the sound, it could save your life one day.
All right, this is a funny question. A part of it. We're on number 7. What is your favorite curse word?
Ooh. The F word.
That's usually people's answer.
Yeah.
But okay. Yeah. Number 8. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Profession other than my own? Probably like an actor. I think it'd be cool to do that. Acting would probably be cool. I think
you'd be a great star presence. Number 9. What profession would you like to not do? You would not like to do
anything around, which is weird. Anything around like garbage, like garbage, like cleaning garbage. I'm not a fan of like I used to take trash out of my home. I use my apartment now. Like if any like weird thing drips out of the bag or like you're trying to push it down, you feel something like nope. Yeah, I don't know how people do it. Props to garbage people out there, garbage men, women out there. Sanitation, all of you guys. I don't know how you do it. I just any weird little feeling in the garbage can, I'm like, nope, no, thank you.
Why do you say that? Because a raccoon got into our garbage like 2 weeks ago. My dad yelled. I was like, I'm not the one who let it open.
Yeah. These happen in my driveway all the time at home. My dad would have to go to work, so I'm of course there, picking up the remnants of what the raccoon got in and putting it. It was the worst.
All right, number 10, and the last question, the Proust question, and I just want to ask you one more thing: is if heaven exists, what would you like God to hear? What would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Ooh, that's a really, really good question.
Yeah, right. I love that question.
I would want him to say that I was good or nice to other people. Like I was personable and open to like talking and helping out other people. Like I was helpful to others. I think that would be the thing that I would want to hear the most, is that I helped out the world in some way. I'll be a small thing, even if it's just me like smiling to someone. If I was just nice and helpful to other people, I think that would be cool to hear.
How sweet, man. I think you're definitely on that right track. And my last question for you, Alex, before we bid you farewell, we've been at it for an hour and 40 minutes, and it's
I
been
know we
nothing but
could
slow.
literally
So
talk. We could probably go on for like 5 hours. We could
honestly,
always
man.
have something to talk about. We were always good at that.
Well, I hope you definitely want to come back and be a regular, man.
Oh,
I really
absolutely.
hope so.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
It's a
Yeah,
win.
for sure.
Definitely win.
Yeah.
My last question for you, Alex, is what was something you laughed? What was something that made you laugh recently? Like really laughed hard.
Ooh, something made me laugh really hard. I was, I don't know why. I was watching Parks and Rec again,
Yep.
which is a great show, and every time the Chris Pratt episode happens, when he's like putting up if people haven't seen it, there's like a scene where he's putting up a picture frame, and he sneezes and he bashes his head into the wall and like falls off and gives himself like a concussion. Every time I see that like one scene, like even though I've seen the show like a bunch of times, that's probably the thing that's made me laugh the most. And then another quick thing, I was been rewatching the Scream movies because me and my girlfriend have having a heated debate of order of which like from best to worst of Scream movies. And the third one, there's like the third one. There's just some moments in that movie that just make me bust out laughing because of how bad it is. Like I'm not a huge fan of Scream 3. I think it's the worst one out of all of them.
Yeah.
But there's like a part where like Gail picks up this like too advanced technique voice changer for the movie to come out in like the 90s, where it like records everyone's voice and can like mimic it back, and like Gail is like talking into it and she's like shocked that it's like her voice coming back, and I'm like, this is so dumb, and I just started cracking up because I'm like, this is like the stupidest thing ever. They just went way too far away from the original in Scream 3, which is why I don't like Scream 3 at all. But yeah,
Just in time for the end of spooky season. Oh man, you want to watch a movie spooky season? You ever heard that movie Hereditary?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I don't know if I watched like a quick synopsis video on it, but I've been seeing it around and I've heard people talking about it, and I just don't know. Like I probably might sit and watch it eventually, but I don't know.
Like apparently, like all right, we watch lots of scary movies in our life. Are some like actually freak you and scare you? Not 99% of the time, no. You're more just entertained by it, But this apparently like legitimately will put fear in you. This movie will create fear. And I actually haven't seen it yet. I've seen the Midsummer, the same director who did that, but I figured maybe as a joke. I don't know if I want to put myself through this. Like watch something to involve like the politics, a podcast. It's watch like Hereditary in the dark and like candlelight with the speakers loud, and just have like a camera on me to see how it reacts.
Just the reaction of sitting down and going through that. That could be a good idea. I think that'd be a good idea. I mean, I've been meaning to watch Midsommar too. I haven't seen that, and I've heard about Hereditary. I haven't seen that. There has been a movie that like my girlfriend has asked for us to watch finally, because me and my college roommate Chris Chambers.
Yep.
We watched it in college. Was Strangers, and that movie will forever horrify me, because it's like it's like that. Like that's what I hear about Hereditary, is that it's like the same thing. It's like it puts fear in you because it's like kind of realistic. Like
didn't that actually happen too?
Yeah, it was like based like the director like had an instance where like there was like a story in his town where like something similar to that like happened, and that's how he got the inspiration behind it. So it's like that's why I'm like always afraid to watch that movie, because it's like I'm in a brand new apartment, and of course like I'm gonna be terrified because like if I open the door or something, there's gonna be like 3 masked people, and they're gonna be whatever the case might be. If you've never seen the movie, like there's like these psycho people that literally are just like outside your door and they just torment you and get into your house and stuff that can like realistically happen in today's world. That freaks me out. So that's like the movie that this whole like Halloween season, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready yet with the new apartment to sit and go through that. So I don't think I'll be able to sit and watch Hereditary just yet, just from what I hear about it. So
yeah, you have about a little less than 48 hours to go to hit it. Yeah. So and probably the scariest movie I saw, the closest thing to actually give me fear would be the Emoji Movie. No, I'm just kidding. No, The original Exorcist, I think is. I don't
Yeah,
know if you've seen that.
that's a good one. Yep.
It's
Yep.
amazing movie, but it just stuff that is you just see obscene. You
Yeah.
know, the
Yeah.
demons. You see the pea
Yeah.
soup
Yeah.
vomit and the.
Stuff. Yeah. Did you watch The Exorcist when you were like younger? Like me, like I saw like Texas Chainsaw Massacre when I was younger, and it like traumatized me from like horror movies.
Oh yeah, that could
So
freak you out.
yeah, so I did you watch it when you were younger, or like when you were a little bit like
I
older?
only watched it for believe it or not, I only watched it the first time a few months ago
Okay.
as a 25-year-old. So
Okay.
if
So,
I was a kid, yes, I'd be freaked. I'd never leave my
yeah.
house.
Yeah.
This I could like
Yeah.
handle,
Yeah. You
but
can handle. Yeah. You can handle it now. Yeah.
no, but I could still acknowledge like the freaky stuff. And even there are some jump scares like, whoa. And
Yeah.
the original Halloween too of Mike Myers is just
Yep.
one of my
I
favorite
just
movies,
rewatched that
honestly.
recently too. That's a really really good movie. It's so fun to watch that movie again. We just watched it like last week,
Oh yeah,
and
it's a
I was
fun
like, damn,
watch.
I'm like, damn, this movie is so good. Just to keep on rewatching, like that's like the one movie like during Halloween I don't think I'll ever get sick of is going through and watching the original Halloween, just from like
Not at
just
all.
everything and just like the score in of itself. Like my
Mhm.
girlfriend said, and she's a huge diehard horror movie fan. Like she's like a fanatic. She's like that's probably like the best score throughout all the horror movies and you look at it. Like it's
Absolutely.
just so well done. And that's a movie if like you're big into horror and you like never watched it, like people out there listening, go sit down and watch it. It's unbelievable. It's a great one with, you know, Halloween right around the corner. Literally watch Halloween.
Yeah, you could literally watch it. Well, by the time this airs is November, but you know, watch it. Make sure you get it. And the other scary horror movie that I just love, or I'm gonna give two, Get Out. Even though I think it's more of a thriller, but it is in that
Yeah.
category, top 10.
It's definitely in the horror thriller category for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
and then The Shining. You ever see Shining with
Yep.
Jack
Shining.
Nicholson?
Yeah. Shining, I finally like watched, like sit down, watch the whole thing through. Like I think like last year,
Hmm.
like finally gave it a watch. Probably around this time too. I think me and my girlfriend sat down and watched it. And that's another fantastic one. Get Out's probably like it might even be in like my like top 10 movies I've ever
Oh,
seen. Like it's unbelievable.
and it has it
So
has a lot
those
to
two,
say too.
yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I can. Those two movies and Halloween are probably the three like I would religiously probably watch around Halloween time because,
Easily.
you know, it's so good. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Alex, yeah, as you know, we could talk all day. Had an
Yeah, we
awesome
can.
time catching up. I'm glad you want to come back too, because I really want you back. This was awesome, especially the career advice was really something I really appreciate the most. So you the man, Alex. Tell your family I said hello. Tell your girlfriend I said hello, and let's do this again really soon. And then once this pandemic ends, especially since we're relatively close, let's definitely catch up in person as well.
Yeah, for sure. Again, thank you for having me. It was awesome when I, you know, reached out to you and congratulate you for having it on Spotify and everywhere. That was awesome. And you saying you wanted me on the show was awesome. And
Oh
same
yeah,
thing to you and your family. Give them all my best. You know, you guys have been awesome. You know, I've known you for a very long time. Like I
yep,
said, you were probably my first friend at college as well.
literally.
So it's been a blast coming back. And like I said, we always had time. Like we could sit and talk for hours. So I would love to be back whenever you want.
Oh, I
And
want you
yeah,
back. I definitely
for
do.
sure. So I'm wishing you nothing but the best to you and your family. And I appreciate you giving me the time. I know we've talked for a little longer than what we expected, but you know, I'm always here
Oh,
to
fuck
talk
it.
and I'm always willing about, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm always willing to hang around and talk for sure. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. That's what's great about my podcasting hosting Transistor. They let me do unlimited podcast and this Zoom. So shouts to those services. But all right, Alex, you're the man. I love you. And I can't wait to do this again. And be sure you have a safe Halloween weekend and have a safe election day too.
You as well, my friend, and love you too, man. And wishing you again nothing but the best going forward. This has been an awesome time. Thank you.
For sure. I'll talk to you again really soon.
Sounds
All right.
good, buddy.
Peace.